Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second session of our 46th FESIG meeting, and today is the 8th of November. It's a cold November evening here in London, but I guess everyone out there, listeners, I only hope that you are more comfortable in a warmer place. Okay, so without much ado, I think I'm going to start cracking straight away. I'm going to share screen now here. Look, this is FESIG site, but if you go to FESIG's website, this is it. And you scroll down, you see the speakers. Speaker number 1, Tom Paladino, has just done a superb presentation just now. And this is the second session. Michael Brown will be speaking for the second session, and James will co-chair, whereas Dr. Fred Bresel had co-chaired with me for Tom's. Right, so I'm going to show you very quickly now. We have the website up. So the next meeting on the 47th FESIG meeting, we have Marina Jacobi speaking, and we also have Kevin Hay, a returning speaker, and they are superb and fantastic. Do come back to join us, okay? Right, so if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the speakers who had spoken in FESIG before, including Kerry Cassidy, including Mike Upstone, and we had James Gilliland as well. That's Kevin. He's coming back to speak. And then if you scroll down, you see FESIG's Executive Council members. And to join the meeting, here's the link. Click on the link and you join us. Okay, and you will see as it's announced when and what time, but usually it's the same time every first Wednesday of the month. That's right. So it's only, and these are the YouTube videos that you could click onto. Okay, so now I'm going to take that away and I'm going to show the PowerPoint presentation. Welcome to FESIG Free Energy Special Interest Group, and go to our website to read about our mission, about our objectives, and who we are and what we do and what we're doing for humanity. A platform where scientists, researchers, enthusiasts of alternative and free energy coming together to share ideas, to present their techniques and their technologies and so on and so forth. And all the information shared, of course, will move forward a lot faster. And today, okay, we have the agenda of the 46th FESIG meeting today. We have done the first session where Tom Paladino just did a fantastic presentation. And now we are welcoming the second speaker, Michael Brown. Okay, I'm going to introduce Michael Brown in a minute, and then this is the sequence of the agenda. And after both has presented, James will be co-chairing the second session, and then we will have the Q&A session. And after the Q&A session, we will go around the table, and there being no other business, we adjourn to the next meeting, which will be the 47th FESIG meeting on the 6th of December. Remember to join us, okay? Or if you click on join us on the FESIG site, it's a lot easier. Then you'll be in the database and you will receive an email invitation to join. So that'll be a great reminder. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now. Oh, I'm Crystal, by the way. I'm Crystal Gore, the founder and initiator of FESIG and the FESIG team. This is we're working together to bring you all this information. All right, and thank you very much. So I'm stopped sharing now. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to present our next speaker. So we have the second session, which is now we're making our meeting short and sweet, so you won't get bored with too lengthy video to watch. So we have Michael Brown here with me and the team here, and those who are attending the meeting here in our Zoom room to present this second session. Michael Brown named his company Blue Lotus because all life comes out of water. Michael is a water researcher, health activist, involved with NC conservationist, Tesla technology, quantum energy solutions, vortex water treatments, art vortex liquid light shows, solar improvements, sustainable microclimate homes. For the last 15 years, he had been going to people's homes and learning firsthand what works. We must learn again what water is and respect it, he says. We believe the vortex provides the possibility to transform man-made electromagnetic radiation back into the natural health flow of ether. So, Michael Brown of Blue Lotus, the water activator, would you come forth, please, to take the microphone from me? Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you, but it's rather
your
faint.
microphone.
Yeah, can you please up the volume of your microphone?
Or a little closer.
I'll move a little closer. How about that?
It's still very weak.
Oh boy. Well, I got it turned up on full. How about now?
Still a little weak. I think you're a little too far from the microphone. If you got a headset, Michael, that will help a lot.
Yeah, I'm right up to the mic, basically.
Because the viewers want to hear you loud and clear.
Right. How about now?
Not
It's
too good.
very, very poor. I have what would happen if you turn the device off that's sitting right beside you, just out of curiosity, just for grins and chuckles? Is that possible?
You're talking about the vortex ampule?
Yeah. We've had other technologies that have really messed up with the computer mics, and I'm wondering if we've, oh, that is so cool looking.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We're dealing with energy press, that's why.
Yeah, I know, it's great. Anyway, that's very, very pretty, the way that spirals through that. That's
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
no, it didn't change any.
It didn't improve.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe you could bring the mic closer to your mouth.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah, well, I'm about as close.
Or you can lean forward
close.
to your computer where the mic is.
Yeah, how about now?
Yes, it's better. Yeah.
Much better?
Yeah.
Not very much, but better. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, this is a Bob Boyce technology. He's talked at the Tesla Tech conference. You can go to the YouTube videos and see Bob at, Tesla Tech 2017, and you can get a lot more information. I just want to bring it forward today to help people kind of understand what water is doing, how we can take this dipole of the water charger here, and if we look inside here, we can see that
You'll have to raise it up just a little bit. There you go.
there we go. You can see there's an aluminum tube inside, and inside there's a stainless steel rod, and what happens is we can set up this whole dipole, and it does all the magical things of the hexagonal energy that has a lot of mysteries, which we'll get into. But basically, I just want to talk today about nature and all of the flows of energy and its different cycles and how we measure these energy fields. Learning all this chemistry has been very radical to me, as well as a big adventure, because every day there's all these new things to learn, and I like an adventure. Now, I'm not a technical geek, but slowly but surely, I'm trying to, I get to understand more of these etheric values of these waters and how they, connect to the earth and the whole consciousness. So behind me was this water vortex ampule, and that naturally shows you that water in the Earth cycle has vortexing going on all the time. You got the North Pole and the South Pole that brings in the positive charge of the Earth. That positive charge of the Earth goes to the middle of the equator and then eventually comes outside of the Earth and changes from a positive charge, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, to a negative charge. Now, the Earth's crust has an aluminum crust, and it's three of the most important minerals that are in the Earth's crust, or the most abundant, is aluminum. Inside our water charger is the aluminum. So we figured out that with the aluminum, we're able to take that positive charge off as part of the outside dipole, and then the inside where the stainless steel rod is, we have the negative charge. As we are able to pull off the positive charge, we're able to increase the negative charge in a dipole. So the Earth, when it's vortexing water and bringing energy in from the north and the south pole, coming out at the center of the Earth, changing it to a negative ion, all plants, animals, and man need this energy because it absorbs chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is what all plants and animals and man need to be able to, promote their DNA. The big secret about this water charger is that Bob was able to just discover with an oscilloscope the longitudinal wave of the water. And in so doing, we're able to take this dipole and charge the water up to 1,000 negative ions. Now, most tap water today is positively charged plus 400, and that's not a good thing for the human body. Positive charged water is really acid water. To develop a healthy DNA, we need negatively charged water, water that's in the hexagonal state. So as we're charging this water, it's building up this negative charge, building up the static charge. Even when we go to drink the water, when we put our finger in it, we get a static charge off of it. It's important to realize the static charge only tells us that the water's being charged up. What the important thing is that we need the hexagonal energy after we charge it overnight that erases the memory of the water and now helps to promote your DNA. So when we put a plastic bottle inside the water charger and we put it over the glass like this, we're able to build up the dipole. By adding to the dipole, you're able to take off the positive charge, which isn't necessarily, good for your DNA. So as we erase the memory of the water after we charge the water overnight, now we have an opportunity to get the correct information from our microclimate. When we have water that has erased memory, we can take the charged water now that has the memory erased, that has over -1,000 ions, that's properly structured, we can put it into the refrigerator, and let's say we have some citrus juice in there or orange juice, we're able to absorb the information from the citrus juice now to the glass of water or the water that we're storing in the refrigerator. Now this,
okay.
Yes.
I was going to say, you can turn your machine back on, your device back on if you like. It's not, it didn't make any difference, and it's kind of, you've got some demonstration things that isn't necessary.
It'll take a couple minutes to start it back up. We don't use a glass per se to charge water up. We only use high BPA bottles. What we found is the silica glass has silica in it, in the glass, and it takes away from the negative charge of the water. So most important thing is we also found out that water that's positively charged dissolves plastics. But we found that negatively charged water does not dissolve plasticides or plastics. So it's important to understand that there's a lot of chemistry going on, and we're trying to bring forward some of that chemistry. So what we're doing is we're microclustering the water And when you get the hexagon, you get 2 molecules of water and more that line up in a single line. So when you try to hydrate the human body on a cellular level, everything has to go in a straight line or in single file on the molecular side. So water has to go in single file into each cell to regenerate the DNA, and this is the micro clustering. It's not the macro clustering where everything's stuck together and clustered together. You want it to be in single file, just like Emoto's when he has, let's see if we can get a picture of this here. This is a picture of a hexagonal structured water molecule, and it's this structure that helps to carry the information in single file. And this is kind of some of the secrets that are out there. But the other thing that we found out that the hexagon water loves to store the monatomic elements. And the monatomic elements we found out are in the 12 major of gold, silver, the palladium type of metals. And we also found that they also, gold especially, has the physical state in the 4th state that's here, and then also leaves the human body and goes into the 5th state, the 6th state, and the 7th state. So this hexagonal water loves to hide out the monatomic elements, and this is what creates the etheric connection so that we can develop, you know, a better, stronger DNA. And then now what we think comes into the project or into our thinking so that we can assemble everything that's going on. So water is the bridge. It carries the light, and most people don't realize if you have 2 cells that cannot connect in single file, then the light body or the DNA has no light. If you don't have any light, then the photon wave that goes across the 2 cells cannot communicate with all the cells. So tap water is positively charged, and when it's positively charged, there is no communications between the cell water or the cell molecules. So if you have water that's a plus 400, then the body becomes very acidic. The 2 biggest health issues today are acid water and sugar. Since 1985, wheat has been processed in such a way it produces 40% more sugar in the human body, which basically destroys your communication. And sugar also competes with your nutrients. So we're trying to show people how to structure the water and get it back where the hexagon and the prism is in the water. Because once you have the prism in the water, it refracts or reflects the light, so the light can transcend through the body and do the proper DNA process. Also, it's the most difficult thing in the world to oscillate the human body. And so you have to get high voltage in this oscillation of hexagonal water to be able to regenerate the DNA. So the gel is a levitational quality of the water. As you levitate the energy up in the human body, as you spin the water in the body, you're also able to, you know, carry over all the signals from each water molecule to the next so that the longitudinal wave can go across it. Bob was able to, on an oscilloscope, look at this longitudinal wave and get it to communicate properly with, you know, the water as well as DNA. So after we get the hexagonal water, we went into the labs and took a bottle of water, went into a freezer, sprayed this hexagonal water into the air, collected the water, put it under a microscope, and we were able to get perfect, crystals. These perfect crystals help to carry the energy, transform the information, as well as communicate with the monatomic elements. Because if gold is in fourth state, going in your body in the physical, and then trying to transcend and go elsewhere, it's bringing in the communication, just like Tesla when he did his conscious intuition. His conscious intuition is able to work with the monatomic elements. All these elements become part of the genetic mineral code that we use to formulate all consciousness. Then there's a book out, Charles Walter, he also tells us about the minerals for the genetic code. And in so doing, he exposes us to the genetic periodic charts and the physical, the chemical, and the biological connections to these minerals. Now in Western Carolina, we've tested all the waters. There's a lot of waters that are 24 karat gold. Some waters just over the North Carolina border into northern Georgia are 22 karat gold. What North Carolina is very renowned about is that you have all these minerals in the water, and you have anywhere from gold, silver, you have all the emeralds, diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. There's no other state that has all these minerals in the water, and these minerals become kind of an elixir. So hidden away in the hexagonal water or these spring waters, because the spring waters levitate up out of the ground by themselves naturally, you can start developing a better connection to your etheric energies as well as your DNA. So as we learn how to oscillate the energy field, it becomes difficult for a lot of people to be able to do this, but they learn if you use this hexagonal water, your joints have better levitational quality to them. And especially when you go to sleep at night, you're able to, the reason why you're going to sleep at night is because your spine is compressed during the course of the day. Now you need for it to decompress. Well, when you wake up in the morning, did you get a good night's sleep? Did you detox? And do you have this levitational quality so that you can go through the day where you are highly energized? So the gel creates the cushion between each one of the vertebrae so that you don't have all this gravitational pressure down on the human body so that you can function properly and have these energies. Now you also have your moon cycles, and you have 12 moon cycles a year. At your moon cycle, there's a 72-hour process that a special fluid goes down the spine and then gradually levitates and spirals back up the spine. As it does this, it creates a gold frequency and then gets stored here in the pineal. So how is it that you have a gold frequency again, doing these mysterious types of things or these DNA functional things and trying to give you better immunity? What we're finding is the hexagonal energy is hiding out the monatomic elements, and it also helps the regenerating of DNA at this time right now of 26,500 years. And what simply happens is in the ice core samples we found that every 26,500 years, the DNA of all plants, animals, and man proliferates here. It isn't so much evolution, and we're still learning all the secrets or knowledge, but it's almost a spontaneous energy that happens in quantum. So what you think now, provided you get this energetic water in your body, it helps to recharge it up. Now, just because you get a spark doesn't mean that that's everything that you need. You need that structure, but not only on that structure, you're oscillating the voltage or the gel inside of each of the DNA in order for the DNA to give you the healthiest immune system and the new consciousness that gives you your special abilities. A lot of people don't think, or they hear junk DNA. Well, junk DNA, there's no such thing. What it is it's at this particular time, this DNA is hooked back up to your body, and now you're able to develop, you know, this connection with this DNA to develop your abilities. But again, it's the monatomic elements that go from fourth state, the physical. Now we have the fifth, the sixth, the seventh. Now you're able to do conscious, intuitive learning as well as abilities to develop the knowledge of what you need to do to oscillate and to develop your consciousness. And all of us have different abilities, but sometimes we don't realize how to connect all those. So at this time, I'll stop a little bit. Anybody wants to ask a question, they can do that. And I'll just continue as well.
I have one. You mentioned you're using a dipole effect to energize the water. What's the frequency? What's the dipole actually tuned at frequency-wise?
It's a longitudinal wave. It's a 12-inch longitudinal wave, and we don't quite give out that frequency at this particular time. We're still doing some patent agreements and stuff like this. Eventually, we will release that.
So you're saying 12 inches on both sides?
It's a 12-inch longitudinal wave.
Oh, okay.
The stainless steel rod is 12 inches for a reason, because it's able to create that longitudinal signal to the hexagon and carry the information to the DNA. So
is that one 12-inch rod split in the middle, or is it two rods?
One rod.
Okay, I got you.
So, like I said, if we take this water ampule, you got North Pole, you got South Pole, it's a positive charge. It goes to the center of the Earth, it's still a positive charge. As it's coming out, the dipole or the aluminum in the crust is, as well as a few other quantum elements, is changing it to a negative charge. So water levitates out of the ground by itself. In good spring water, you want to drink spring water because you're not taking a mechanical pump, putting it down into the well and forcing up the water before it's unripe. And as well as when you bring water up and it levitates by itself, you're leaving behind all the heavy metals. Iron will short circuit your DNA. So you don't want a lot of heavy metals in your body. The other thing that's very, very important with the genetic code and the 64 minerals, and there's more minerals, and we found over 64 minerals just in the water in Western Carolina that are very important for the genetic code. But magnesium is probably the most important element because magnesium gives you the permission of life inside the cell, inside the chlorophyll cell of the DNA to create the new immune system.
Thank you, Michael. You have about 15 minutes. So why don't you share about some of the projects, your new projects that you're working on?
Well, some of the new projects are just how to look at these negative materials and stuff and start to take on how to read and understand it. Solar is coming down the avenue, and we're finding out that reading a meter or solar using these negative ions is a different process, and we're able to pull out more energy out of the vacuum, because all this relates to energy in the vacuum, how to relate to it, how to understand it, how to even see that it exists.
Okay, what about with you and Bob Boyce? I know you were working on that water zapper. Have you made any progress on that?
Yeah, he's also made a pro water. It's a 5-watt system, and he's able to oxidize the monatomic elements out of the water in 1 to 2 hours. And he shows it to you in the Tesla Tech conference. And it's very interesting because a lot of people don't understand the etheric, what's invisible. If they can't see it, they don't understand it. When you're able to oxidize the monatomic elements like gold, and then see it after 1 hour, then people start to say, there must be something there.
Right, and so is that a way to extract ormus from water, similar to the using lye and seawater, but now it's what, fresh water?
Yes.
Okay. Is that what's going on behind you with this ampule? Does that actually create monatomic elements when you spin it around in the vortex?
What this is it's really taking the energy of the water, structuring it to higher spin. We use this ampule on pools and spas, and we use very little to almost no chemicals. How does that, when you spin water and structure it in this way, how is it that viruses can't grow in the human body? So if you consume this water, it kills molds, it kills viruses, it kills parasites. Because parasites live in a lower energy realm. This is spinning the water up into a higher spin. Since January 31st, 2017, the ley lines have brought in this new quantum energy, or this new energy that's supposed to proliferate our DNA, or the higher spin. This here is just like a pyramid. It's concentrating the gold ions as monatomic elements. If I put a gold cap pyramid on the top, I can concentrate all the negative ions in here. Why do you want to concentrate the negative ions? It helps communicate with the etheric elements in fifth dimensional energy. And since the ley lines increase their energy frequency of 26,500 years in January 31st, now you can develop your abilities in your DNA and transform everything really in quantum, meaning that it's really almost spontaneous. When you finally oscillate the human body and get reconnected, you can also take the stress off the endocrine system and lower the bio age. Now, James, I told you about Jeff Harvey. He took 1,000 people age 70, and he was able to lower their bio age all the way back to age 50. Jeff passed away, but somehow no one's been able to get a hold of his research and technology. We're just in the beginning stages now. We know that there's something to this water, and it helps decrease and take the stress off the whole endocrine system, but it also helps to proliferate and connect all your 64 genetic codes or minerals in your body. And we also found out if you affect one mineral, it affects all the other minerals as well. So there's a linking. Each cell like this connects single file and then the longitudinal wave goes across it, has to form that bridge. We did a water beaker test, 2 water beakers put together, and we pulsed them 5 kilovolts up to 15 kilovolts. As we pulled them apart, the bridge of water up to an inch, inch and a half stayed between the water, or between the 2 beakers. How is it possible to bridge 2 beakers of water and keep that bridge of water almost indefinitely? So in closing, I just want to tell people, the lower the voltage is in the human body, the more radiation that can penetrate the body. High voltage has more pressure on the skin, and it doesn't allow, it resists radiation. 10 miles up in the ionosphere, we found, the Air Force tested the air samples, and what they found was that mushroom spores exist up there, but how is it those mushroom spores can, resist the radiation from the sun? Well, most mushrooms consume spring water that consume monatomic elements, and they proliferate around this because they have built up this great immune system, and their shell or their spore protects them because they're able to take their energy to this higher spin or to have a higher immune system in their body. Today, the #1 health issue is detox. If you cannot detox the human body properly and be able to go into cell, single file of the water molecules, then you can't pull out the pound to pound and a half cellular waste that we produce each day. Now, if the water's macro clustered, it's not going to go in the cell. It'll go into the interstitial fluids, but not into the cell. And the minute it can't go into the cell, then the DNA cannot protect itself. It degenerates, and then it carries on the disease part of the cell. So the negative ions is what's protecting a lot of us. If you go to see Semi Osmanovich's Bosnian pyramid, they use GDV technology to, before the workers go in and clear out the mines, to test the people before they go in on the parasympathetic, and then see what happens when they come back out. The very edge of the Bosnian pyramids is 12,000 negative ions. The very center of the Bosnian pyramid is up to 40,000 negative ions. And I'd simply ask people, how is it that people have high blood sugar or are diabetic or have back issues, go to the center of the pyramid and are able to, within hours, lower their blood sugar? When they have high blood sugar, they're diabetic, and it returns back to a normal state. So there has to be something to these negative ions and to all this proliferation. So we're at a point of 26,500 years to develop our consciousness and our intuitive abilities. Tesla did it with all his research, all his ideas, all his concepts. He did not really write down in the beginning when a thought came to his consciousness. He would work it up in his intuitive abilities. He would use this consciousness, these fifth dimensional energies, 6th, 7th, 8th, and try to expand the idea, the concept. Now, the Hopi Indians have a myth at Havasu Falls in the Grand Canyon. The Havasu Falls, the Indians have this underground cave. Inside the cave is this pool of water. Above the pool of water is a 200-foot copper rod that goes all the way through the mountain and then outside to the ionosphere. When the lightning strikes the copper rod, it goes down into the pool of water, and then the Hopi elders put their individuals into the water, and they said they were able to do this with each individual every 90 years, 9 times, and proliferate their life to be over 800 years. So we have all these myths and all these legends, and sometimes it's hard to comprehend the etheric energies, but eventually we're going to try to reconnect and really learn what these etheric values are. Also in Western Carolina, it's one of the largest underground water aquifers, and all the granite domes and the thousands of waterfalls, just like this here, spins the water, charges the water here, negatively charges it, and goes all the way down underground to warm mineral springs. Now that node is a very energetic node, and that's been known to be the fountain of youth, or Ponce de Leon. Now the ancients, or the Egyptians, correlated the energy and the cycles of time to that node as well. How is it that this node in warm mineral springs, the other node comes up to this particular point in Western Carolina? And it's very interesting to find out that this negatively charged water is being charged here, stored, and then eventually makes its way to warm mineral springs. So there's a lot of history, but there's a lot of things out there that we don't know about, because the textbooks in the 1900s, they took out a lot of the genetic codes. There was 100 mathematical formulas that talk about negative ions in the genetic coding and how to work them. Today, scientists ignore them because, number one, they don't learn these genetic codings, but in the negative charges and such. And we're just here to bring sustainability forward and to show you that off-grid technology in the future will be using this technology, especially the negative ions that work with the monatomic elements, because now we're able to initiate seeing, understanding all the stuff that's coming out of the vacuum, because the monatomic elements are leaving our fourth state and going up into fifth state.
Michael, we only have a few more minutes. Could you briefly talk a little bit about Stanley Meyer and about his technology, and maybe if it can even be replicated, because apparently all the information was lost after he died, or nobody really knows where it is.
No, it's still here. Bob has a vehicle. You know, it's up on cinder blocks. He worked with Stan Myers, who did the all-water vehicle. He knows how to duplicate it, but they knocked on his door and said, you can't bring this out to fruition. So it's sad. We know a lot of things, yet we can't, you know, bring them to market. But that's changing.
Great.
So Bob is working on a lot of things, and he's, as soon as we have a chance, we will bring them forward.
Right. Okay. So where can more people find more about what you do? Is there a website you could share?
Yeah, you can go to thewateractivator.com.
I've already put the link onto the FESIG site where your name is, Michael. Thank you.
Right. And
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And Crystal, do you have anything you would like to share? Maybe any questions? Maybe any questions for the floor? Michael.
Well, you have asked all the questions for me already. Thanks, James. And I will go around the table, so that everyone has a chance to ask the question. Shall I, James?
Sure. So who's first?
Okay, who's first? It will be Well, since I was first and you have asked my questions already, so we go on to Fres. Fres, do you have any question for Michael?
Sure. There's a couple of questions that come to mind. You talked about the negative energy readings on your meters. People don't realize, and I'm it's one of these things because one, it's not taught, and second is the sine wave that you see electricity isn't really that flat sine wave.
Correct.
It's a spiral.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day, and it's interesting. An ORP meter is a very simple item. It tells you the negative charge of water. Most spring water in Western Carolina is negatively charged -60, and it fluctuates. It doesn't, monatomic elements come in and out of play with the water. It changes the energy and the structure of that water.
We get the negative energy, this negative charge to the water, and I have a tendency to mix thoughts here, but the negative charge to the water, does this change the pH of the water?
Yes.
And is it a small amount? Is it a large amount? Is it a buffering?
It's like anything, it's subtle, and it depends what samples you're taking from. High pH water, a lot of people think that it helps their body, but bottom line, your stomach is your immune system, and if you put, your acid is a low pH. If you put a 9 pH, you are destroying your gut flora.
Right.
Okay, right. Michael, I do have a question actually. I mean, you and I had been talking for about over an hour prior to this meeting, and it's so wonderful to hear from you what this water activator can do. It's so pretty on the ampule. It's sitting there, and the lights, the different color lights shining through it, and it's just so beautiful. I just want to say, okay, so water has intelligence, and it responds to energy, light, and sound as well, right? So I was just thinking, what if you play some sound frequencies like the solfeggio frequencies, the hertz vibration? What would it do? Is it going to be much better in terms of raising the vibrations?
This water
Mm-hmm.
can now, all its memory's been erased. So now it's a conductor to consciousness, conductor to any frequency, as well as if I put any herb or orange juice to it, it takes up the information. And this is what's the greatest thing about it and outrageous. It knows how to intelligently go into all the other dimensions, 5th, 6th, 7th dimension, and pull down the information, almost like your autonomic nervous system. It's on automatic pilot once you can get your body oscillated up to these energies that are natural. This is all natural.
Wonderful. Right. Okay, so I'm done with my question. And next we go to Isif Daniel. Isif, have you got a microphone that you could speak up and ask your question? Well, if you don't, then you can type on the chat box.
Daniel says no.
Okay. Unmute. I've unmuted. What? He says he doesn't have a question? Okay, right. We move on.
One of the things that's interesting with...
Go on then.
I'm sorry. There's quite a bit of information on memory of water and taking up information and discharging information. Some of the earlier work here around the world in the United States was Victor Zapper, who was originally in Germany and came to the United States. He talks about the water has quite a bit of memory in it by the time it gets back to the ocean. But through the process of evaporation, the spin of the ocean and stuff, and taking in 2 cycles, getting its way back to the top of the hill or the top of the mountain, it has now erased its memory and is ready to pick it back up. And it's, for those that want further information on the properties of water, to really need to take a look at some of Victor Schauberger's work. And his work was about this vortice and implosion work. And it's stuff that people just are not grasping the importance of.
Right. Thank you, Fred.
And
Yeah. Okay, so we move on to the next person around the table. That's Mona. Mona, have you got a question for Michael? I have unmuted you. Yeah.
Thank you. Not really a question. I'm just fascinated by the findings that you have about the water, and it's so true, the importance today of having, for everybody to have good clean water is just such a contribution here that Blue Lotus can make. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Right, so next we move on to Pontus. Pontus, is there anything you want to say before we close the meeting?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's the vortex is Victor Schauberger, I guess. And in Sweden we have a meeting in Borne every second year. So that's maybe something to consider also.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, are you posting a question to Michael, or are you just making a statement?
Yes.
You are? Yeah, okay.
A statement.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Pontus. So we move on to Ron. Ron, if you have anything that you would like to say before we close the meeting?
One thing that comes to mind is Michael mentioned the pH, and I know I've tested my water before. I've got a pH meter, to test the hydrogen ion count. But you said it's better if it's lower. But what would lower be? Seven is neutral, as I recall pH. What's ideal? 4, 5, 6?
7.2 to 7.4 is really the range that it stays in, where you want it to stay in. If you have positively charged tap water that you shower in,
Talk close to your mic.
if you have positively charged water that you shower in, then it's going to bring your pH well below 7. And most people go to a 2 pH. That means that you've been totally disconnected and your body has no light in it.
What do you think of the Kangen water filters? The alkaline water.
Marcus Rothkans and James Sloan do an excellent video on why high pH water will destroy your gut flora. There's 5 states that are banning Kangen water machines, as well as there's lawsuits because it destroys your gut flora. There's thousands and thousands of people across the country that have bad gut flora because they did high pH. It's common sense. Your gut is supposed to digest food at an acidic state. And when you dump a 9-point pH into your body, you're literally diluting your stomach acids.
All right. Okay, so if we could just move on to the last, but not least, that's James. James, is there anything else you want to say before we close the meeting?
Well, if alkaline water is bad for you, then what do you think about alkaline foods? I mean, like if you have cancer, supposedly you need to be on an alkaline diet. What's your thoughts on that?
Everything gets regulated without you, in a sense, in your mouth. I'm just thinking, a lot of people try to take a pH strip and put it in their mouth and think they're going to measure their pH. No, I can just think about food and it changes the pH in my mouth. So you have to do a blood analysis in order to get the proper pH of your body. Food, your body will regulate it, normally, provided you combine your foods properly.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Okay. I have one last comment that was made in the chat room by Iosif Daniel. He didn't have a microphone with him, so he couldn't speak up. So he said, this is something for everyone to think about, actually. He says he needs a device to measure scalar or longitudinal wave. Can anybody address that? Is there a device that anybody has seen or heard of that can measure scalar or longitudinal wave? I suppose this goes for Tom, but Tom's not here.
Yeah, there are devices. They just are not conventional, and they're in the stages of being processed and made, and eventually will come out to the market. I can't talk too much about them. I've seen them. I don't know how perfected they are yet, but they do some amazing things and measure the energy extremely well. Again, you're talking about taking negative type of material and ions and being able to monitor it. These technologies are already coming down the road and it will help everybody advance.
Okay, I would like, there being no other business, because we've really gone round the table, I would like to thank, on behalf of FESIG, thank Michael Brown for making this beautiful, wonderful presentation today on the 46th FESIG meeting. Thank you. And there being no other business, this meeting is now adjourned to the next meeting, which is the 47th FESIG meeting on the 6th of December, where we have the speakers, Kevin Hay and Marina Jacobi speaking. Okay, so do join us again. And thank you so much, everyone. We can stop the recording.